I think having disagreements is the first step towards having a meaningful conversation. We can wage a lot of ideological conversation on that because things you agree on are not really a thing to talk about. So, I have a good friend with whom I disagree with a lot. I mean, we have had a disagreement on basically all the topics that you can name, basically all the ideological topics. We barely agree on some things. But the best thing about having friendship is we can compartmentalize it and then we can have very large and very tense debates, but then we can go back to being friends. The thing about having a conversation, a casual conversation with your friend is you cannot get many ideas out of them, right? So me and my good friend Mr. Garv, they decided to have a formal conversation as a podcast so that we can go deep into each other's ideologies. Mr. Garv was very impressed with Andrew Tate. I'd say he almost joined his cult, right? But this is the story of redemption, how he came out of that cult, how gradually he did it, and now the special part about Garv is that he can give you perspectives and ideas of the both sides of the point of view. Because I have been just on the other side of the wall. I have just been opposing Andrew Tate for all the time, just arguing with him. But now he can offer arguments and thoughts and insight views about both of the sides of Andrew Tate because he was the biggest fan of Mr. Andrew Tate. So we thought this to be our first conversation because this is the main topic that we used to talk about. The other thing that I like to say is that we both are just teens that are just casually talking to each other, just trying to get into each other's mind. And this is not something professional. We are just getting started with podcast. We will obviously make a lot of mistakes and we will fumble a lot. We might even make some factual mistakes because we are not professional and everyone has to start somewhere because if you don't start you're never gonna get become a master in something, right? So we just got started on this one to improve our communication skills, to get ideas of each other. Obviously our thought process might change in years down the lane, so I'm saying this just because we just so that we don't get cancelled along the way if these things gets taken out of context. So I'd like to hand over the mic to Mr. Garv.
So, guys, as Aman said, I was a very big fan of Andrew Tate a long time ago, but as gradually as I came out of his cult, I started realizing what real life was, how real world functioned, and the reality of Andrew Tate and his cult. So, as Aman said, I'm gonna show my perspective that how I gradually came out of his cult, what was Andrew Tate and his cult to me. So, please, Aman, you can ask questions all you want.
So let's get started with the basics. Whenever you are talking about a person, you talk about his ideology, his thinking, because just to be a person who appears out of nowhere and to just dominate the internet, because let's be honest, Andrew Tate has dominated the internet whether we like it or not. So what is the thing that got you into the Andrew Tate cult? What was the ideology?
So I would like to start from the start a bit. I'm gonna summarize it. So first, as if you know, Andrew Tate was a popular meme when he showed up with his Bugatti. The what color is your Bugatti meme if you remember it, Aman?
Yeah, what color is your Bugatti? Like it's a universal answer to any question. Like if I ask you how you doing, bro, why are you doing this bad? Why you fail your examination? I have a Bugatti. What color is your Bugatti, bro?
Yeah, that's what Andrew Tate.
Yeah,
That was the first thing.
the absurdity of it.
That's how Andrew Tate got on the internet. Then
Mhm.
after much, he got popular a bit.
Yeah, so
He actually started
so when did
surfacing
you
on the
so
internet.
when did you started getting influenced by him and
When
how?
I get yeah, I would like to elaborate on that one. So, so when he started to surface on the internet, he started posting all about escaping the matrix, making money as you are young.
So I'd like to quote you on this one. Just when we were planning that podcast, you said that the existence of Andrew Tate is a contradiction, and we'll talk about his contradictions later on. But yeah, please carry on.
Yeah, please. So, Andrew Tate itself is a contradictory, and we will talk about it later. So, after a long while, as you know, I'm a middle class boy. I'm broke.
So basically, he was selling you dreams.
Yeah, basically, when I saw him saying that you can make money, you can be a millionaire by 17, 18,
Hmm.
19, and seeing him own such luxury cars, luxury bungalows, having all the girls and bitches around, it was like really eye-catching for me, and I was immature and all at that time, young and immature at that time, so he caught my eye, and I got into his cult.
It sounds like just like network marketing, no? There is all talks but no talk of business. There is just talk of getting rich, but No talk of how would you get the rich and the money that the person is talking about. It's absurd. But it's like when you are influenced by a person, you don't you your rational thinking just switches off, right? You believe him like as he says, like word to word you believe him. And that is, I think, what operates in these cults. First, they get you to believe them, and then they get you to buy their stuff, they get you to pay themselves, right? The only person, like the house always wins. This thing is true on betting and on basically on every bad habit that you can think of. The house, the person who is organizing all this, always wins. Most prevalent thing in his ideas is his misogynistic ideas, right? Frankly, you too were kind of a misogynic person. You, in this thing, you were not that extreme, not that radical, but you had that little tad bit of ideas about misogyny you were picking from him. So what were his misogynistic ideas? Because from an outsider's perspective, what I have seen is he talks a lot about how cheating of man is okay, but how cheating of a woman is basically not right. Basically showing women as inferior race, basically feeding the male ego, the male fragile ego, which yearns for attention, which yearns for the validity of another people. Because female, as we know it, it's a fact, they get more attention just because of it's our problem that we give them more attention. So male lack that attention, and then we try to grab that attention from somewhere else, that validation from somewhere else. So please introduce ourselves to the misogynistic ideas that you were following, you were not following, and things like that.
I absolutely agree on the points you shared and talked about, Aman. And about the misogynistic ideas, I would like to elaborate on the thing that he first said that he likes to treat women like object.
Mm-hmm.
Objectifying women was the first thing he did,
Mm-hmm.
and like women are used and
As
through
in, as in,
objects. We
as in,
don't.
can you, yeah, can you give some specific examples on that? Because that sounds
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah, absolutely,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. How he was objectifying women was like he was telling you that you can always cheat on girls, your
Mm-hmm.
wife, your girlfriend. You don't need to be loyal to a single wife.
Wife too.
You don't need to be,
Mm-hmm.
you don't need to be loyal to a single girl. And about why, you're asking why.
No, the wives too. Like you can cheat on your wives too. That sounds really absurd. Like the person is really breaking the family structure that have worked from the very inception of time to till now.
Yeah, bro, I absolutely agree on that. Because wives are literally the foundation of the family. They build a family, they preserve the
Yeah,
family.
yeah. Anyone cannot,
And
any sane person, any sane, uninfluenced person cannot disagree to this basic fact.
yep, and any person cannot disagree to that fact, but Andrew Tate likes to disagree on that fact, and that's funny
But
because he says that women don't need, we don't need women at the in the first place to preserve and nurture a family. Then he turns his back on his given point and starts saying after some time when he got cancelled and all that women are needed in the family, women are a gift of nature, relationships are a gift of nature. So after getting the beat out of prison, he
in
just
this,
turned back on his own points.
please give more personal opinions on what things you believe. Let's be frank on this one, right? Because you're out of that thing, nobody is going to judge you for it. We all change our ideas. Like, if I talk about how many times I have changed my political ideas, people will laugh at me. I mean, people, I tell this to laugh at me. So, but changing is the part of the process, right? We change a lot, and that is the best thing about humans, that we are able to accept the change. So, please talk more about yourselves, how it affected you, how the propaganda affected you as a person, as a teen who was
Yeah,
growing up, whose frontal court was still developing. Please.
yeah, but please, I would like, yeah, bro, I totally agree with that. So, about me personally, how his misogynistic ideas affected my mental health and relationships, I would love to talk about that. There was one time in my life
Mm-hmm.
when I was dating three girls at once and treating all of them like shit,
Mm-hmm.
not caring of them all, and I was like, yeah, bro, एक गई तो दूसरी आ जाएगी. I can
Yeah,
replace
because
any girl.
yeah, because the idea that they propagate is being a nice guy is just a bad idea. You just have to be a badass guy who doesn't give a single f-bomb about anyone, who just does whatever he wants to, who cheats on any girl that he likes. So yeah, I have heard at least that much from his conversation. Please go on. Sorry for interrupting.
No, no, no problem, Aman. So the thing is, the main thing in his misogynistic ideas were not the idea of selling masculinity, the idea of masculinity, fake masculinity, and under a shade of masculinity, he was telling you about toxic masculinity. He was making you toxic masculine.
But how it affected you? Like, why couldn't you think of this thing when you were going through it? Like, how you got influenced? Like, our brain didn't develop much in 1 year, but the difference is we can differentiate between his bogus ideas right now, but you were unable to do that back then. So why was it that you got influenced in his trap in the first place? What was the psychology that was going behind it, and what was the practical?
The
Uh,
thing is, the
yeah.
The thing is, Andrew Tate affected the people who were already losing at their lives. They had no girls, no money, nothing. They were broke as virgin people who had nothing in their lives, no social life, no financial life. They were just nerds sitting at computer all day playing games. And one day Andrew Tate appeared in their feed, and
And they got the idea of false hope.
they literally started worshipping him like a god. So Aman, I myself was a very I myself is a broke, and I also used to be having no friends, no social life. I was also sitting all day on Instagram playing games and all. So one day Andrew Tate appeared in my feed. Okay, it all started with the Bugatti meme, and when you share a meme, it just starts to appear in a feed. And after a while, Andrew Tate actually started appearing in my feed as he surfaced into the internet after telling after telling all about how he has money, he has all the wealth, the bitches and everything, the concept of him escaping the matrix and all. When I watched it as a broke, as a person who had no girls, no money and everything, it actually just took over my mind. I got false hope hormones and I started following his ideas of just the toxic masculinity, the false hope is sold, the fake propaganda, the fake concept of the matrix of the world.
It's too far away, but Adolf Hitler used to say, his propaganda minister, Mr. Goebbels, used to say that if you repeat a lie 100 times, it becomes a truth, right? It was true
Yep.
not only in that time of Germany, but even today. That if you see a statement getting plastered on you by a lot of people, you think of it to be true. That is how I think you evolved on this process. You are basically the logical thinking of your mind basically shut off, right? And this is what we see in a lot of cults. We don't want to go into politics, but this is what happens when people are just radical supporters of a politician, even though that politician is not giving him anything. So
The
we
thing
can
is,
relate
Aman,
it to that.
we can actually expand our topic of Andrew Tate by even more people who influence the world, like Hamza, Iman, Garzi, and all.
The thing about Hamza and all other influencers is like you can watch the content of Hamza and you'd find him at least 80% of the time very logical. He talks about practical steps. The thing with Andrew Tate was the absurdity, the simplicity while acting to be complicated. You get it? Because if you're a kid, you are not going to watch Hamza because whatever content Hamza makes, he's at least two steps above the intellectual level of Andrew Tate. I watched a lot of Hamza and basically some of the advices he gives on maintaining physical health, on no fap, on things like that, it actually works. Other than I don't know the a lot of bad sides of him. But the thing about Andrew Tate was he was spreading absurdist ideas. He was not actually giving a
Uh,
true
uh,
way to get out of your absurd life. He was just
yeah,
selling hope.
I, Aman, I agree on.
And that is
Yeah,
why
yeah.
I think Hamza or things like that or people like him didn't become the cultural influence that Andrew Tate ended up becoming because he was
Yeah,
being really simplistic, which really yeah.
I would like to contradict a bit on
Mhm.
that,
Mhm.
because most of the people I know for fell into the trap of self-improvement content that is being provided by Hamza and other YouTubers is
Mhm.
after their Andrew Tate phase of life, or is
Mhm.
still being in their Andrew Tate phase of life. The main thing
Mhm.
Andrew Tate did was internet was already filled with a bunch of failure, people who
Yeah.
feel like a failure, you
Yep.
know,
Who are just sitting in
broke
their
people.
mom's basement, just giving their phone the screen time of 10 to 11 hours. Those were the target audience.
Yeah, bro. Yeah,
So,
yeah, already. Yeah, I was one of them, and there were millions of them. So one day, Andrew Tate came on the surface. He sold fake dreams, and all of us at once, all of us broke people, just looked at him as a false. He was a falsehood, but we looked at him as a hope and started following him. And
let's
the number of his followers increased gradually. And the more the followers he had, the more we were focused on him. Like
uh,
he's talking real things. He's real.
Hmm. we talk about his real things, quote unquote, later on. I have a point on this one, but let's just move on from the initiation of you getting influenced by him. Let's go to the midway where you were on the peak influence of him, right? You got influence from him, there was a peak time, and then you slowly started contradicting your own ideas that you had set into your mind in this 1 year. So, what would you say in the middle level of the influence? What was the peak of it? What was your worst behavior that you had with girls? Or let's talk about your behavior with me too. Like the, I mean, we have had a lot of talks, right? We are friends from quite a while. Like it's a Minecraft journey, a long Minecraft journey. So, what thing you can recall from your experience were different back then and now? And I'd also like to add, I noticed the change in you. It was quite drastic, and as you know, I quite love the new version of Garv. So I'd like to see the peak version who was influenced by Andrew Tate at its peak, and what was the effect of it, which the practical effect that you're having on
Sure,
relationship
sure,
with your people.
sure, Aman. I would like to talk about it. The peak of being Garv being toxic. Yeah, but I would like to talk about it. There's a past of me that I would not love to forget because that thing, I can use that thing to inspire others and pull them out of the
Yeah,
trap they are in.
you can actually be a good influence on other people going forward. You can make arguments against it. Please go on.
So the peak of me getting influenced by Andrew Tate was literally doing nothing in reality. I was really watching his content,
Just talking.
watching other self improvement content all day. The thing I was doing was just being rude to girls, like really talking to them like shit and objectifying them and
Hmm.
not caring of them at
Can we
all.
be
I
more
had a girl.
specific about how we were objectifying them?
Yeah, bro, I was going to talk about that. I
Please.
had a girlfriend at that. I had a girlfriend at that time, and
Hmm.
I was being manipulative to her. Like she told me she had a couple of guy friends, and I was so insecure and influenced by it. This I just straight up said I was straight up manipulating her
Yep.
into that.
Yep.
You should
The
not have any male friend.
Yep.
You should not
Yeah.
have any
Yeah.
male friends.
He used to spread that idea a lot that if your girl has other guy friends, basically she's cheating and you just put her on basement, just cut her out of every human relation that she could have, cut her out of her female friends because they'd gaslight her about you. So that was really upset. Please go on.
This can go on a long bit, Aman, but Aman, that Andrew Tate is an insecure cunt. In my opinion, he really gets no bitches. In reality, all the women he have is on the basis of his money. But
Yeah,
we, as a person,
we talk about his absurdity of his status later, and we relate it to the 48 laws of the power books too. But I'd like your perspective on your behavior
yeah,
towards
bro,
me because
yeah,
I can
bro.
relate the most on that one, on that thing. Please.
I'm going on that. I'm going on that. So he had everything on the basis of his money, but we started thinking that we can also have that.
Yeah,
While
selling
we
your
are still
dream. Yep.
broke, while we are
Yeah.
still broke, we can also have all of the bitches and just having people around. We can use as tools, you know.
I'd like to add the absurdity of the dream that he was selling. Right? The course that he was selling was $50, right? It was called something, I don't remember actually the name, but it was on Discord.
I know
And
it. I know the
uh,
course. I know the
uh,
course name. The
uh,
course name was the
and
Hustlers
yeah,
University.
the Hustlers University. And the absurdity of that course was all the payment proofs that were being posted on that servers were about $3,000, $500, $100, and those were the most successful people of that server. Those, and we talk about the courses later on, but this is just to show the absurdity that like he's selling the dreams of Bugatti, and then he's the most greatest achievement of his courses are a person earning $3,000 per month, which is not the thing that would get you Bugatti, even if you convert that to Indian rupees. And
Aman, the
those
thing
were
I
the
would
basically, yeah, yeah.
Aman, the thing I would like to add is the dream of getting a Bugatti, money, and all the wealth and everything he had came was in everyone's mind. Like people like me, I had that dream in my mind,
Yeah,
but in
because
real,
every teenage person at some point or another gets attracted to these fancy things. We just like to aspire things. We just want to have everything at one point or another.
yeah, bro, the materialistic things of the world we get attracted to is so fast, and some people get attracted for it like forever. So thing is, I had everything in mind he was selling. While in reality, I was the only thing I took from him, I was totally influenced from him,
Mhm.
was
Mhm.
the toxic masculinity and the misogynistic ideas of him. I was literally objectifying women, as I told you. I was telling my girlfriend I was manipulating her into not having any guy friends, not going out, just being a typical housewife. You can't talk to anyone and all. And on the other hand, you said I will. Yeah, you said that I should talk about how I behave with you and my
Mhm.
all other friends.
Yep.
So the behavior I had with my friends was like really, I really treated my friends like shit. The only thing I had about my friends is I actually wanted to use them as my tools, like
Mhm.
getting all the help out of them, then leaving them, like getting all the help they can offer me. But when
Mhm.
they ask for help, I'm not going to help them at all.
Yes.
Once if you remember, there was a chemistry exam.
Yep. I can remember that. Actually, I would like
Yeah,
to tell that story. So,
yeah, but sure, sure,
so
sure. Go on.
So that was an unfortunate moment where our friendship just kind of broke off, but we are very fortunate that we decided to get back together. We are the best buddies and we can have such intellectual conversation. I just love his chat manner. So the thing that was going on back then was I was preparing for my chemistry examination, but I was not really well prepared for it. It was around the time of December. So I used to tell Garv a lot of things. So basically, I'm just a goofball going around internet discovering random things which are cool, and basically I'd tell Garv those and then he'd ask more and then I'd tell those. That was a phase, right? I'm not judging Garv. He's a very great person now.
The thing is related. You asked me how he influenced me. The thing is, when I saw you doing so many things, because
Mhm.
of Andrew Tate's influence on me, I actually started to get jealous from you.
The thing was
Mm.
that I was getting motivated by myself. I did some mistakes, some crucial mistakes. I misprioritized things, but I was getting interested because trial and error is the big part. You can just not get influenced by other people and make them your goal, like being like them. You have to be like yourselves. You have to set your own goals, set your own structure of the day. That was basically I was doing. So basically, I used to tell Garv, share with Garv a lot of things, lot of interesting things. But I didn't really used to ask him a lot of things because I just didn't cared about it enough at that point. But then there was point where I badly needed those chemistry notes. I asked Curve and then he basically made some absurd response. I don't exactly remember it, but then I took that on my mind. It was around December. Then I kept it on my mind. I started slowing down talking with him, and then as I moved out to another city, as I was sitting out, I exactly remember the scene. I was sitting in an interview room of a company. There I texted him the thing that I wrote about him in my diary.
Mm.
Because the thing was, as Garv himself admitted, he was too self-centric. I'm glad that now he has changed, and we talk about how we became friends again after he talks about his
Sorry.
redemption later on. Please go on.
So as you said, I was a bit jealous about him. The thing is, Andrew Tate, as you can see, the point is the changes in the ones following him. They turn into toxic as
Yep.
well as are narcissists, as well as
So
they
basically, there is no
became a
real.
narcissist.
So basically, there is no real improvement in them, but they just become self-centric, egoistic, just following a cult,
In reality, they're watching self-improvement content, and
just watching it.
yeah, they are getting into the manipulation of thinking that they are improving every day, but in reality, they're not even moving an inch further, and in reality, they're just getting even back. They're just
Yep,
getting
just
down
an
the hill. They're
illusion it
not
is.
climbing the hill.
Right.
They're not
With
climbing the hill. They're just
right,
getting down.
right. Let's
Yeah.
move on to the another more interesting topic, which is the matrix, the idea of the anti-capitalist dream he was selling.
Yeah,
Please.
in reality, the Matrix was literally the capitalism he was trying to tell us that he's against, and in reality, he was capitalism itself. The
Hmm,
way the idea hit at us is he told us that the government is playing with
hmm,
ourselves, he doesn't want us to be rich and all. And the worst thing he told us is, and it sold me and every other guy the idea that
hmm.
we nobody needs to be a worker, everybody should be a millionaire. That's how
Yep,
the society
yep,
can function on that. Like really,
yep.
in reality,
I
when I think about it, it
mhm.
doesn't make any sense when I'm
It
out of
doesn't
it.
make any
When
sense.
I
I recently watched a meme on this one. Like, if everyone followed Andrew Tate, there would be just 50 millions and millions of drop shippers. There would be no doctors and no engineers. That was the work he was. That was the idea that he was putting through. That nobody needs to do real work. Nobody needs to serve each another. You just gotta have your own way.
Yeah, bro, he was selling the dream of becoming a millionaire, being on the top of hierarchy to the people who are low in hierarchy, and
But if
the
everyone is in
people.
hierarchy, but if everyone is in the top of hierarchy, is it even in hierarchy at that point?
The thing is, if everyone is in top of the hierarchy, there is no hierarchy at all.
I mean, if you talk about it, he's basically trying to describe the communist Russia. I mean, USSR Russia, or even the failed dream of China being a communist country, right? We have seen
Yeah,
that failed time and again.
try. He actually tried. He actually successfully made all of us, all of me, my people like me think. There was also my classmate who also loved to support him. The thing is, he
Mhm.
made us feel and think that the government is lying. We all can be millionaires. We don't need to be workers and all. There's
Mhm.
no need to be working in jobs. We all can be workers. But then I realized when I actually gradually started, I don't know, maturity hit me. I became mature. I grown big, but I actually started to realize that it doesn't make any sense.
Mhm. Because the
If everyone is a drop shipper, who the fuck is buying things?
Yep. Yeah, that is the thing, if everyone is just doing one thing, because you need that structure. We have seen, like, what was USSR? USSR was this entire structure playing out that everyone is equal, and then everyone should get the same things in the same quantity. I mean, people don't read history at this point, I think, because if they would have read history, they'd realize that there are so many drawbacks of communist system, because in that system you have no incentive of improving yourselves or the state or the society, so you just stay in one place, because you as one person cannot do much, right? You cannot do much things without collaboration, without the support of hundreds of more people. Like there was this in Wealth of Nation, the book by Adam Smith, who is regarded as the father of economics. He brought out a great example that I still remember to this day. Even a worker, like a common day-to-day worker, lives greater life today than the African king you used to live some thousands of years ago, right? You can resonate to that, because everything that we are consuming, just have a look around yourselves and see how many things you have. The single pen that you have, how many labor went into it, how much technology, how much evolution went into it. I mean, there are literally documentaries of the evolution of ball pen, and how China invested billions and billions of dollars into making the perfect and the cheapest ball pen. So when the smallest thing as a goddamn ball pen could have that much evolution, how do you think that you are going to succeed as a society without the
Aman, Aman,
corporation of thousands of the people?
Aman, I would like to add on that it really depends on how you're being grateful or not. When I used to be influenced by Andrew Tate, the definition of success for me was to be rich by money,
Hmm.
be
Hmm.
rich by money, having girls all around you, having
And the thing
luxurious
about,
cars,
yeah, yeah, and the thing
having
about,
luxurious. Yeah, bro.
being rich is you have to create actual value for someone. You cannot just go out and get cash. I mean, there are rare examples of people winning lottery, but let's be honest. You have to provide value to people, and you're not going to provide any value to people just by being arrogant, rude, and just being so self-centric that people don't even like you.
Yeah, I would really like to elaborate on that one. That I used to think success is all about being rich by money, having girls, having
Hmm.
luxury. But when I
But you
gradually,
actually forgot. Yeah, please.
yeah, but when I gradually came out of it, I realized the real definition of success is having a life that you are happy with, a family, a wife, some kids, society. You put value into society, having a respect in the society. People actually
Yeah,
like you. You have friends you can rely on. You have people
yeah.
you can rely on.
It's not actually as story as he projected it. Like if you have, I mean, Venezuelans have a lot of money. Venezuelans have a lot of money. What it is? Like money is just paper, You have to have I mean, that is how our family structure was built till now. And basically, he was trying to break the fabric of that family structure by influencing the the influenceable mind of the teens that we were, right? And it was a great talk. Now let's move on to the next part of our conversation. Let's talk about effects, shall we?
Yeah, sure, bro. You can
Yeah.
move on to the
So
next part. What do you like to
yeah,
talk about?
yeah. So let's talk about the changes, like the very specific, the grand change, like the changes that you don't realize, right? You talked about how you behaved with girls, like how you behaved with friends, how you had those ideas. But let's get into the bits and pieces of how your thought process was changed. Pull out the most specific thing that you regret how you were changed, because these are the years of evolution, how we grow up to be, how our thought process becomes, like we are growing till the age of 25, right? So what we are doing would play a big role in the later half of our life. So please bring out the very specific part that you wish you could go back and reverse, that are not actually that much reversible at this point.
So when the boys following him start to get a bit misogynistic to everyone, not only normal girls, everyone. Everyone means their mom, their sister, their girlfriend. Add on the things, add on the other things that changes occur in the people following him, the boys following him. One of them being self-centered, a narcissist, and being rude to their colleagues, friends, and everything.
And basically, the thing is that when we talk about such people, like the influence of such people on our youth, it's not really the big and tad experience, right? It's the small, tiny things that we change on. That person could have been the most gentle and the nicest person you could have ever known. You could have been the most gentle or the nicest person you have ever known.
I would like to elaborate on that. The
Mm-hmm.
person I'm talking about now,
Mm-hmm.
he used to be my best friend in seventh class. This all happened. This all incident of him taking advantage of his best friend happened in 12th standard. This
Mm-hmm.
guy who was influenced by Android, he used to be my best friend in seventh class, and he was such a nice guy.
So, yeah, so that is the thing. As we grow on, as we like to, and the thing about it is, we think that they are our own ideas, right? You say that like it is my own idea, I'm following my own idea, but it is not. You're following the ideas of the other person, and then we grow on to be bad influence on other people. So it's not as grand as we'd like to imagine. It comes off in small situations, being rude to your friend, being rude to your sister or brother, and just talking rudely to him, other than talking nicely to them, just sitting there having a discussion, right? Or you can, and the other thing that I have noticed, let's talk about what I have noticed, right? Then we'd move on to the echo
Yeah,
chamber
sure,
story.
sure.
So,
Yeah, but there are so I would
hmm,
like to know about the things you noticed in me changing
yeah,
because I can remember them very well. You
yeah,
remember them very well because you
yeah.
noticed them.
Yeah. So the thing was that I was always out of this thing, right? I always found it kind of absurd, right?
Yep,
We
yep,
like we
absolutely.
yeah, we used to have a lot of debates on this one, and the thing about debates is you cannot change the mind of the other person by any way, shape,
Yeah,
or form,
absolutely,
and that is true even
absolutely,
today. So
absolutely.
the thing that made you different from other people were that, see, with every bad thing comes a good thing attached, right? So the thing was that you were the most confident of all. You were the most non-submissive person of all, right? With confidence comes being non-submissive. So you were the person who had his own ideas, even though they were influenced by other person. Most other friends on our common shared Minecraft groups, in which we used to have a lot of conversation, were just like the other common people of the world, which have generic ideas which you cannot even distinguish between in chat form if you were not told their names.
Uh,
But you
I
have
would,
your
I would, I, would- I would like to add something to it. The concept of NPC people introduced by him.
I don't think that concept was specifically introduced by him, because we have seen the references to NPC on as old game as GTA San Andreas. So I
Yeah,
think he
we
likes
see the
to.
concept. The concept of NPC was seen in games. We know that, but the
Yeah.
concept of NPCs in real life, because he turned every.
I do not think that is even true, because some people are just on themselves. So he likes to introduce some absurd naming ideologies that the people following him can name other people who don't agree with him.
Yeah.
We can see it this way, or you can believe in the NPC theories. Like, some people are just really empty-minded. I'm not saying that, but let's go on. So the changes, I mean, you were the person that I saw, like when we became good friends, right? You were
Yeah.
already that Tate person. Before,
Yeah.
you probably were not, but we didn't used to interact a lot. My main interaction was with Krish and all, right? I used to play with him on my one.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. He
when I
used to be
had
your best friend.
yeah. So when I had conversation with you, you were already the Tate guy. And the worst thing that, so it's like when you follow a person who is too masculine, I'm not actually degrading masculinity, but I'm talking about the toxic masculinity in which you become too self-centric. So the thing about you was you became too self-centric. Like, the See, now I'm going to talk very frankly because that is a past, right? We can talk about it. So the thing was, whenever I used to talk about some things to you, you drive it off to yourselves. And as a person who is influenced by Tate, I don't think that you realize that you did, but the person other on the other side, on the receiving end of it, actually realized it. That I was just enthusiastically, like that enthusiastic cat thing. Like I come up to you with a interesting thing, right, or theory or thing that I discovered, and then you state it about yourselves. So that felt disappointing. And the other thing was you were not really ready to accept the ideas that were contrary to yours because that came naturally with being influenced by such person. Like you just be harsh about, and I have been harsh about accepting the ideas of the other side. I'd accept that, but you also had that quality. I also had that quality that I would not agree to the people. I just have a debate with them. But that was not due to influence of Andrew Tate. That was my own problem. So you had that thing, and then you were not really very likable. For example, if I had to choose a person to be my best friend, I would not have exactly chosen you back then. Now I can gladly say that you are my best friend because now you are the nicest person on the block, right? But back then you are the arrogant one, the rude one, basically all of the ideas that he was propagating, the person who is just too self-centric to give an ear to the other person, to hear what the other person is talking. So you were not really a likable friend. A friend you were, but not very likable, as in I cannot have a good discussion with you about things. And the other thing, and the last thing that I'd like to get into was I could not get actually any suggestions from you because those were at that time very base level and they were too self-centric about, and then we used to have a very passive aggressive tone, as in we were like in constant competition of talking good, of behaving good, and things like that, so that I was not able to be open with you as in I would have been if you were not that person who was too self-centric. So that was what I noticed in you, and it could be said about the basic general Tate fan that could be seen largely or shortly in every Tate fan. Please.
Yeah, so I totally agree with all the things you said. I used to be like back then, and I'd like to
Mhm.
apologize to you and everyone I behaved such harshly to
That's
that way.
awesome. That's awesome.
That I was mostly in was being self-centered. I was way too much self-centered, and you can say that I was being too much narcissist and arrogant. Yeah, so as you said, I used to be very much self-centered. You can say narcissistic and as well as arrogant. I was not respecting you and anybody else's opinion. Everything you said or talked about, I took it onto my side. Like मैं अपनी बढ़ाई करने लगता. I was talking all about me on that point.
Mhm. And I just like to get you on this one. It just you are the person I would have absolutely died to see back then, right? You are the person who I thought you could be today. So as I have said it thousands of times, I just love you for this evolution that you have gone through. And you are the like you I can proudly call you my best friend at this point. I'm getting enthusiastic, but I am enthusiastic about your change on this one. Please.
The first thing I would like to address is this is a first podcast, and we are making mistakes, and that's all, of course, normal. And
Yes.
I appreciate you for saying me your best friend. I really appreciate that.
Mhm. Please.
And the thing, what we were talking about, yeah, the changes in me, all you said, I agree to that. And the narcissistic attitude I have, the thing is, I would like to address the thing when I realized about how am so wrong about all of this.
Mhm.
So
We'd get on to the redemption later on at the ending of the
yeah,
podcast. So
yeah, bro,
let's
no
move on to
problem.
the other point, the echo chamber that you get into it. Basically, the teeny tiny things about the echo chamber. Basically the echo chamber is when you don't want to hear the other side's opinion, and as soon as you hear the opinion of the other side, you disregard them as soon as possible. For example, if I want to explain echo chamber in current things that are going on in the world, I'd explain it as Israel versus Palestine conflict. Some people have already bent forward to pick a side, and the side that they have chosen, they are just like cemented with it. They have, for example, if someone has chosen Israel, he is sticking with it. He is not not willing to listen to the other side. For example, if someone has chosen the side of the Palestine idea, they are just sticking with it. So that is a echo chamber where you find yourselves among the people agreeing to you, and you do not want anyone to disagree, or you'd go harsh on them. I know the echo chamber because I have been a part of lots of echo chambers. For example, my echo chambers comes in the political ideologies. So I used to be a part of lots of echo chambers. I have changed echo chambers quite frankly and laughably. So I can understand that whenever you hear the opinions of the other side, you just want to bash them and want to get them to stop and hear to your opinion, and then you want to believe. So let's talk about the echo chamber that gets developed.
So I think you're talking about me being in an echo chamber. You are right. I was
Yeah.
being in an echo chamber, and echo chamber also falls into the term. Echo chamber can also be a synonym to the term narcissist, because echo chamber and narcissist just go with each other.
Yeah, you are just living with the same kind of people.
The echo chamber I was in that time when I was influenced by him. The thing was, he said the government is not for you, so I literally stopped watching, reading, and anything published by the news. I started think the news
Hmm.
is fake all the time.
No way.
Yeah,
Like
but
really?
really, bro, I started think the
Unironically, you're
news is
talking that.
fake.
Uh-huh.
I'm literally talking. I'm laughing on myself, but in reality, I used to think that the news is fake
Uh-huh.
in
Yeah.
every perspective. And also at that time, started to find groups like Discord servers and groups of
Okay.
people who followed him and
Yeah.
literally became the part of his cult. The only thing I didn't do is buy his courses.
Yeah, because we both were broke at that point. The dream that
We
you
are
were
still
selling.
broke. We are still broke.
We are still broke, but at least we are out of the intellectual shackles of other people.
Yeah, we can say we are mature now.
And we are working towards it. You know, you are having a degree. I'm going to get into the college next year, and then I'm starting about a small business. So we are working towards it. Please go on.
Yeah, we now have realistic goals.
Realistic goals, yeah,
We have
absolutely.
we have realistic goals, realistic graph what we are gonna do. But at that time I had unrealistic goals, like I'm just gonna start doing copywriting and stuff, drop shipping. I'm gonna be a millionaire in half an year.
Millennial by
That
bro, just imagine your profession as a millionaire featuring on the Forbes top 100 list, a copywriter or dropshipper.
Aman, you remember when you once said that you will like to interview me when I became a billionaire?
Yep. And
Remembering that
and we were
excites
and we
me a
were
lot.
and we were actually talking about billions, not millions actually. Remember that
Yeah,
conversation?
yeah,
Yeah.
bro, yeah, bro. I was talking about being a billionaire, and you were
Yeah.
excited about interviewing me.
As in a caveat that I would be in the BBC, and I mean, being a journalist is a kind of a realistic idea, I'd say. It's
Yeah,
not too
yeah.
often.
Being a journalist was a kind of realistic idea, but you were also in the unrealistic standard of being a BBC interviewer.
No, that is my prime dream. Still, I have not changed on that. I want to be featured
Nah,
on
there's no
BBC one
problem.
day.
There's no
Yeah,
problem. But still,
yeah,
there
yeah,
you
yeah.
have a
I understand.
realistic goal.
Yeah,
You have
yeah,
a realistic goal set up for that now. Like you are
yeah,
watching yourself go there in like the next 5 6 years.
yeah. No,
But I was
yeah. Uh-huh.
but I was thinking about being a billionaire in like
Yeah.
the next year.
Yeah, that was the absurdity of it. And ecosystem plays a big role into this, right? Because you cannot believe in such absurd ideas without being in an echo chamber where you are being fed just what you like. And the algorithm are echo chambers, right? You don't need to actively participate into the echo chambers. You don't need to go join the Discord servers. The algorithms of YouTube, of Google News, and algorithms are playing basically everywhere on Instagram. You don't see chronological feeds anywhere, right? You just see algorithm serving you content because the benefit of the algorithm is to show you the most curated articles so that you can stay on Facebook or Instagram for as long as possible.
Okay. So as you said about the algorithm, it reminded me of the thing that the only thing I mostly did while being influenced by him was wasting my time on social media, watching Instagram reels of being successful and all. And I would like to elaborate even further on that cheap dopamine. and fast success became like a part of me. I was literally thinking I can become a billionaire in like an year and cheap dopamine of and I was wasting all of my dopamine, earning all of my dopamine and wasting all of my energy on social media watching all these
Then
billionaire reels
arguing,
and
yeah,
all.
then arguing about those topics and as such, it's like the placebo effect. You're not doing anything, but you feel like you are doing something, so you feel happy about it because you get temporary dopamine boost, and then you just leave feeling bad because at the end of the day, we know about ourselves more than whatever someone could influence. So at the end of the day, we know deep down, even though we don't like to admit that we are not doing enough.
The thing about placebo effect is a funny thing. The thing about it is you can go on the placebo's bad side, the placebo's good side. You can either manifest things into your real life while you are doing stuff in real life.
Hmm. So true, so
Like
true,
you are actually improving yourself every day. You're going to gym, you're studying and all, and
so
your
true.
placebo effect. You're manifesting that. Yeah, bro. I'm working. I can be successful. I will be successful. I'm putting in the work. But the
Yeah,
bad side
then
of
you can
placebo,
feel good about yourself. Yeah, please.
the bad side of placebo is you're watching all of that.
So true. So you got onto the exact point of it. The good side and the bad side. Absolutely true. I agree to it 110,000%. Because the good placebo is when you are going on your way, you are having struggles, but then you are feeling good about yourselves and then getting motivation to continue further. And then the other placebo effect, as you mentioned, is you're just watching content, not doing anything, but still feeling good. That was an excellent point. Let's move on to the second part of the podcast and let's have a discussion, the casual discussion with Mr. Garv on the effects and the absurdity of the Mr. Tate, and then later we'd come to the redemption while winding down this podcast. So let's have a discussion rather than a question answer session because we have already gathered enough information about the process of Garv being in that cult, right? So let's talk about him himself being a capitalist. I'd like you to start, Mr. Garv.
So the thing I would like to talk about is the absurdity of Android because the guy himself was selling the idea of escaping the matrix. Escaping the matrix is the capitalism, the system the world functions on. He was talking about escaping the capitalism, but in reality he was selling all of his courses and all. He was the part of the capitalism itself.
Yeah, if he was so much about letting people escape the matrix, why was he selling his courses? He could have taught that all on YouTube because all that platform was for free.
Yeah. True that. Because if he wants everyone to skip the matrix, why the hell he's selling the courses? It should have been all free.
Yeah, and the thing about what he was teaching is it was not really something unique or something great you'd get out of a book written hundreds of years ago. It was just generic thing that you could, but again, the effect that he had on people that got them to pay. Because imagine someone paying you $50. $50 converted to Indian rupee is something like 3 to 4 thousand rupees. Imagine someone paying that much because of for basic ideas. So he was selling the dream as we talked about it a lot.
He was selling the dream of a fake hope, fake world. He was selling the dream of a fake world that you were never gonna achieve in reality.
Yeah, and the thing is the politicians and all other people do it slowly, do it not that extremely, right? They sell the dreams, but then those dreams are actually achievable that if they want to achieve it, they could achieve it. But that kind of dream, because if everyone has everything, how is how is like Venezuela tried to do that. They tried to print money all of a sudden. It doesn't work like that, right? You have to have hierarchy. Like you also talked about having hierarchy, and that is quite true. You
Yeah.
have to have hierarchy because everyone cannot have the largest luxurious places because our populations is in literally billions and billions of people.
The thing is, the concept of the matrix, in reality, you can only escape the matrix by going in a forest, living on the resources, hunting animals, chopping down trees. That's where you escape the
Mhm.
matrix. You can't skip matrix. The capitalism, the matrix is the most prominent and functional form of the society. For society functions on capitalism.
Yeah,
And moving from that topic
yeah.
of the matrix, I
And
would like to
just
go on
just
another
uh,
topic.
yeah, I'd just like to add that in our sixth class textbook, it was the I think the one of the very first line that human is a social animal. We as a human have to forge relationship. We cannot live on our own. So the idea was absurd.
So, Aman, let's go on to the other topics after
Yeah, sure.
leaving the concept of matrix behind. The other topic being the allegations of him being a human trafficker.
Yeah, the allegations of him being human trafficker. I mean, he has been in jail for quite a long amount of time. I mean, I don't even follow him. I don't like to see his face at this point, so I don't know if he's out of jail or not. I think he's out. But the thing was, the allegations against him were so solid that the Romanian authorities actually arrested him, right?
The Romanian government and police didn't only take him in trial, they also seized his property, took all of his luxury in there. They seized all of his luxury and he was put in jail for like 7 to 8 months. The thing about him, so his property was seized and all. The Romanian authorities launched an investigation into Tate and his brother Tristan Tate, then reported their Romanian house, where there was like a charge of him capturing a woman captive and doing
Mhm.
wrongdoing to her. Assaulting her and all. After after all of that, Tate was taken into the custody, and still while being in the custody, Tate was being active on Twitter.
Mhm. I think it was his media PR company at very least.
The thing is, he was banned on Twitter by the former,
Yeah, the
CEO,
former administration, but now
but
as
but
Elon
but
Musk came, he
E-
unblocked him.
Elon Musk just ended his 5-year ban, and his whole policies on hate speech and all.
Yeah,
They don't make any sense.
we talk about Twitter someday later, but the goofball was actively saying things about Romanian authority because bro thought that his actions don't have consequences. Like he thought he was living in post consequences era. Like he was actively saying that Romanian authorities are corrupt and then you can bribe them, and that is why he lives in Romania and not in some other nation of the world because those authorities are so easy to bribe. I mean, he almost thought that he was invincible. The matrix that he was talking about, the leader of escaping matrix got caught into the matrix. The Romanian authorities seized him. I mean, what do you expect when you talk against an entire nation, and then what do you expect them to do? Bring you red carpets and then just welcome you to the luxury jail?
Yeah, bro. No, yeah, bro. All about that, and there also started a funny feud between Tate and the climate activist Greta Thunberg.
Both of them. I'll not talk about this because
Both of them are funny goofballs. Not gonna lie.
let's not go into climate change because that is whole another theory. And then yeah,
Uh,
so
so I would like to talk about an year ago when Romanian authorities seized his 11 cars belonging to the Tate brothers, their
so
house,
so what was
and
your
all.
reaction to it? What was your or the community's reaction to it? Like
Uh,
how you thought about it? How absurdly you thought about it, or your community, the echo chamber, thought about it?
the all the you would like I would like to refer it as the cult of him.
Yeah, that sounds great because his name is just like really eerie to the ears.
Yeah, bro. So all of his cult was like angry and all. They were like defending his name that Tate can
Matrix
do
got
anything
him.
like that.
Matrix
Matrix
got
got
him.
him. Matrix got that was like a trend of him. That was like the trend of the people who always
Yeah,
hated it. Them the
yeah,
Matrix got him, and the
yeah.
people who always supported him, the people who were in his cult, were like, nah, Tate can't do anything like that, and only they would try to defend his name and everything on that until on June 20, 2023, he was just taken to the jail for like months.
Hmm. Yeah, and then the just metrics for real caught him. So that is the thing. You can yap all you want, but there is apparent hierarchy in the system that you have to follow, and you are not actually living in a post-consequence era. Whatever you say is going to have consequence. If you poke the bear, you are gonna suffer. And we'll talk about poking the bear in our next episode about Israel, and that would be most interesting. I'm sorry for
Yeah,
being
but
off
there's
topic.
there's there's also a saying called while you are living in the water, you didn't make enemies with the crocodiles.
Yep, yep. When you are living the, I mean, bro was actively speaking against the Romanian nation that it is corrupt. How do you expect the Romanian nation to to like I mean, even if they are corrupt, they just be the most nicest and the most honest on this one to prove the allegations by Tate wrong because he had a sizable audience. Let's move on to other things, right? And I was talking to you about 48 Laws of Power written by Robert Greene, I think if I'm right, right? So I'd like to we had a conversation on that one, so I'd like to join these two together. Like Robert Greene, as far as I know about him, he was trying his luck in Hollywood writing, and you have reference to 48 Laws of Power in past, so you are quite aware of the book and the contents in it, even if not in a very great idea, just at least the basics of it, right? So the thing about Robert Greene is he was trying to be a Hollywood writer. He could not get in, so he decided to write a book with a company. And luckily, that book went off. Now, the thing about Robert Greene is he's a good historian. He has nice stories to tell, but the thing about is those stories is they are not really practical. He just nitpicks the stories that fit his propaganda, right? And I'm not here to talk about the book, but that is what he really did with those 48 laws of power. Now the absurdity of those 48 laws of power were, if you know all so much about system, and that is where I'm relating this to the Mr. Andrew Tate cult and the cult, that if you know all about the system, I wonder why you are not the prime person controlling the system, because the people who are actually controlling the system, let's say the US president, let's say the Indian president, they are mostly silent and they are mostly very careful on what they say, and the people who are yapping the most are the least effective and have the least influence. So I'm talking about, if Andrew Tate knew this much, why he recently came off being this largest influencer? Why wasn't he influencer back then? Like, why didn't he do something big before he became a YouTube influencer by luck? So that is the thing. These people just come out, just publish a book, and by luck they just become famous, become popular, and then they act like they have achieved everything when the most of their achievement is the thing that they have created right now. They are just it's like the MLM scheme, you know. It's like just like the MLM scheme. You just have two cars, and then you are saying to people that, see, I'm rich, and then people want to know how you got rich. They pay you money, and then you get more cars, more things, then you show off that. So yeah, please talk about that.
I would like to elaborate on a point of Robert Greene publishing the books like for the 40th Laws of Power, Mastery, the Art of Seduction, The Laws of Human Nature, 33 Strategies of War. All
Hmm.
these books wrote by him. Just tell me for one thing that if he had such knowledge of the system, the world,
Yep.
people, human mind, why didn't he become something so
Yeah.
powerful and right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I was talking about. Like, why did not he become the most powerful person on the earth, on the face of earth?
He had so much knowledge, like really, if you read his books,
It's
he
it's it's actually historical knowledge, you know. He just put together a lot of absurd things. Like I tried to listen to his audiobook for some time, but I just really could not get through it. The one of the first lesson in his book was to not trust a friend. I mean, how absurd it is. If you could not trust a friend, whom could you trust? Right? And his ideas are full of contradictions like that, and such are the ideas of Mr. Tate. So let's talk about the Tate and the absurdity of teaching such things while you yourselves have not having achieved anything. I mean, if tomorrow Elon Musk comes with $1,000 or 70,000 rupees course, we would all actually happily pay for it, right? I mean, he would not obviously, but let's imagine, because he has actually achieved something in his life, right? If Mr. Modi writes his book, we all are gonna just hop onto the shops. If Mr. Rahul Gandhi writes his book, we all are just gonna hop onto the bookstores and just grab the book as soon as possible, because they already have provided the value to the society.
So on the topic of Aman saying that why did an antidote become popular a long while ago, I would like to tell is on those times there was not think Instagram and everything was not so
No,
much influential.
it's not about him being popular. It's about him not having achieved anything other than YouTube success. He doesn't has any successful business. He doesn't has any successful classes other than the YouTube classes in which he taught people real meaningful skills.
I mean, he was successful kickboxer, but when he retired from his career, he straight up jumped into that. And the thing is, I would like to talk about is he he was around, he was behind the bushes all the time. But when the future
No,
reels was enter,
I understand that he was not actually the most mediocre person on the face of the earth, but at least he was not as successful as you'd imagine him by his talks, right? I mean, any other person, any other kickboxer could just come out and talk things like him. But if you're expecting him to, like, as he was portraying himself to be as the knower of all, why wasn't he on the top? Because you'd expect him to be on the top, right?
I would like to. I have an answer to that. See, he was a kickboxing world champion. So he
Mm-hmm.
had enough wealth to buy some luxury,
Mm-hmm.
enough luxury to get us into the idea of selling the false hope of escaping the matrix and everything. But as as he surfaced onto the internet, everybody, people like me and all, started buying his courses and everything, and he became rich by that. He just grew his luxury, his wealth and everything, and we started getting more and more influenced by it. Like we were literally, putting ourselves into a trap. We were paying for that trap. He was just playing for us.
Hmm. So let's swiftly move on to the other topics, to his contradictions that he talks about, right? One thing that I like to quote here is that when you yap just countless things, just you get out everything that your mind has without putting a filter on your throat, you say 1,000 things, right? But of those 1,000 things, three, at least three or 100 or some things are suppose like they would be instinctively, if you talk about statistics, some of them, those things would be true, right? But and then your followers could just get those basic ideas out and then say that, oh, see how idealistic he is, oh, see how great he is, oh, see how great his ideas are. And that is how, if we try to relate it to the historical actions that have been in the past, that is how the time guessers work. Like those people who claim to make a accurate prophecy of the future, right? The thing was, like, there are a lot of people, I don't actually remember the names, but there are a lot of people who claim to make, I mean, people wrote entire books about making prophecies about the future as to what is going to happen. And the thing about it is, they wrote a lot of things, and some of those things just come around to look true somewhere or another. And the other example is Simpsons, right? Have you heard the theory that Simpsons already predicted everything? Like we get the
Of
meme that
course,
yeah,
of
yeah,
course
yeah,
I've did. Of
like
course I've
yeah,
did.
yeah, like Simpson already predicted this thing and all. But the thing was, they made so many episodes and so many hundreds of episodes that some of that was going to be culturally relevant to at any period of time. So that is where
I
it
would
comes
like to
from.
say I would like to say something about that, that when you predict 1,000 futures, there's a
Hmm.
एक तो सच होना ही है. The
Yeah,
one will come true
yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, some of them are bound to come true because you are just guessing here and there, and I think that is how these guessing games work. I mean, on Twitter, I have seen a lot of account post a lot of absurd thing, and then like this person would die on that date or this event would happen on that date, and when that date is specific, like they just post a bunch of dates and they delete the dates which went inaccurate, and then they claim to be a person who knows everything. So that is how this scam works. And the thing about his contradictions is he contradicts himself 100 times. But when you are into that echo chamber, you cannot really see his contradictions. You are just bound to agree to his contradictions, right? कि हाँ भाई बोल रहा है तो सही बोल रहा होगा. Like you are just so hypnotized that you take his words as a writing on the wall.
So I would like to elaborate on the topic of him contradicting himself. I would like to go to a time when I was outside, when I was out of his influence and all. Then I started realizing that he contradicted himself many times. Like when he started to surface on the internet, he was objectifying women, treating women like shit. Women don't matter in the society and everything. But as time passed, he came to know that the government was getting on him, the hands were getting on him close. So he started actually saying that women value in society, women value in
Mhm.
family, you should not cheat and all. So he literally contradicted himself. He also contradicted himself. His own existence contradicts himself. The point of him escaping the matrix while selling you courses.
Mhm. Ah,
And most of his advice is unconventional. It doesn't apply on himself either.
ah. let's talk about the redemption process while we are winding down the podcast at this hour. So let's talk about the redemption process of yours. I mean, as a person who has been a part of the echo chamber at one time, I mean, at multiple times, mostly political echo chambers, I understand that at one day just this spark of wanting to explore the other side of the spectrum. You just want to explore the other side of the ideas. You promise to yourself that you are not going to change your ideas. You are just going there to explore, to give an ear to the other side, right? But then you go there, you find their arguments logical, and then you start opposing some of the ideas of the person you are influenced by. That opposing some ideas turns into opposing most ideas of him, right? But then still you believe on some ideas of him, but then slowly that transition comes, like it's just a gradual process. So as you, as a first person going through this redemption, and it was quite recently, so I'd like you to give you a very specific and very interesting idea and account of what went through. Because if you go through and see yourselves as a person who was just 6 to 7 months ago, 1 year ago, you would find yourselves unbelievable on how firm you were on your ideas, or even just 3 to 4 months ago, how firm you're bent, how firm you were on not changing your ideas, and all of a sudden, see now you are just a wholesome, nice, awesome, likable, great person with whom anyone would have a good conversation with. So please take us through the redemption, and then we'd touch on some other minor topics, and then we'd wind this down.
So I would like to elaborate on my. So talking about my redemption, it all started when he got arrested. When he got arrested,
Hmm.
I gradually started to lose all of my. I didn't lose my friends, but when you start
Mm-hmm.
getting when you stop getting influenced by the person you were getting influenced by, you start losing yourself, the personality he built in
Yeah,
yourself.
because you have built your personality around his aura.
Yeah, exactly. My girl left me, so I already got heartbroken, and then I really had no friends in reality. They considered me as as the best friend, but I didn't consider them as my best friend,
Mm-hmm.
so I did never ask for any help from my friends, and I slowly started to lose myself. I also turned into an atheist while I was following Andrew Tate.
Mm-hmm.
Then, I just said to God, I will do things my own way. But when my girl left me and I had no one to talk and share to, I came back crawling to God and became a theist again. I started worshipping God, finding guidance in Him, and the only person now I see as my idol, as an influence, as everything is my dad.
Very great, very great. That's a good influence to have, and nobody could say otherwise. But what was the process? Like, how did you started contradicting your own ideas? Because essentially, it's you against you, right? Your new ideas, your new neurons getting created, fighting against your old, well-established ideas, your new ideas versus your old, very established grand ideas.
So about talking about that, I started to study what I was a while ago and how does this make sense in real life. As being a misogynist, being a certified hater of people, making people useful as a tool doesn't make sense when you think about it in real life terms.
That's absolutely.
When you
Okay.
think about when you think about being in everybody being a millionaire as a possible as a thing in the society, it doesn't make any sense. Not everybody can be a millionaire. People need to be workers. People need to be working. The hierarchy literally has to have a higher level of people, middle level of people, lower level of people to keep the hierarchy working.
Yep, and we can absolutely climb the hierarchy. The system is indeed fair, as you might have realized at this point, that it's about how much honest work you put into. Like those people who are in the hierarchy, they didn't went there by some absurd metrics idea. But let's talk about this winding down on the later ending of this on the ending of the podcast where we can give our final comment. So let's talk about some influencers like him, like you mentioned Hamza and things like that. How moral do you find them? Do you think that a mild version, you'd follow a mild version of Andrew Tate like Hamza? And the influencer problem, let's touch a bit on the influencer problem. First, please, on influencers like soft influencers like Hamza, you know.
There are many influencers like Hamza Ahmad. There's Hamza, of course, and there's like Iman Ghazi. He's a millionaire too, and he also talks about how you can be a millionaire and all. There
Why
are
are
many
no no
many.
no no and why are all these Muslims though? Is it like a Jew controlling the world theory? Is it forming there? Like Muslims are controlling the alpha males?
I would not like to talk about that in the I would
Yeah,
not
let's
talk
not.
no
Let's
I would
let's
like
really not.
I would
Let's really not.
I would not like to talk about
It's
the
deadly.
religion
It's
side of this.
deadly.
Just think it
No,
of
it was
think
just
it
a
of
witty joke. I'm sorry.
eh,
I'm
eh,
sorry,
eh, eh,
everyone. It's please don't behead me, please.
it's a coincidence. It's a coincidence that everyone is a Muslim.
Yeah, yeah. Let's end on that. Please go on.
Everybody, it's a coincidence that everybody standing on topic of being a Sigma Alpha male is a Muslim.
No,
Okay,
no.
so
Let's
let
not.
it
Let's
be.
not. Please. Yeah. Let's.
Let's not. It's a coincidence. So the thing is, there are many people, still many people, and in future also many even इससे भी ज़्यादा होंगे future में. There will be even more people who are weak. They don't have any social life. They don't have any physical activity. They are just all day on their computer screens, mobile screens, watching Instagram reels and playing games. Everything. There will be influencers like them in every way, and they will continue to just get influenced by them and turn into toxic, then I don't know they will ever get out of that phase or not, because there are still people who follow Tate around, and I don't think this is ever gonna end, because this is how the world will function from now. There will be people who can easily influence such weak minds, and there will be people who cannot be influenced with strong minds, and that's how the thing is gonna keep working. Because the people who can easily get influenced by such people like Hamza, Andrew Tate, and all have so weak minds, then they can never be successful in reality.
So let's talk about influencer problem. As in, why do we even call them influencer? Like, what are they? For example, we were having conversations about Bollywood stars or even Hollywood stars just yesterday, just day before yesterday, right? And my main point was, what are these people doing to add value to the society? Like, I feel happy when ISRO is celebrated. I feel happy when people like Kiran Bedi or even Mr. Modi or even Mr. Gandhi is celebrated, are celebrated. I feel happy because they're actually trying to drive change in our society. But what are these influencers trying to bring out? I mean, you went out to watch the animal film. Let's talk about a bit about that one. That movie is a misogynistic crap, and the standards it puts out are unrealistic because you just cannot, in a fine world, in a sane world, you just cannot murder people for your dad, right? It just doesn't work like that. And the entire movie, the entire premise of the movie is stupid. There was police in the entire movie, and you can contradict the entire movie by just one sentence. And the recent movies that are coming in Bollywood are in the same way because Bollywood has realized that you got to play with people's emotion. You cannot just go against them and expect to get money as they used to get in previous times. Now they are making pictures which suit the public agenda, which suit the right wing agenda which is prevailing in the country right now. Now they are becoming religious because they have went through that phase of being boycotted in the past 2 3 years, and it actually worked, right? In the major part of people, you can call that a cult too. So it's a double-edged sword, but Bollywood has really adopted. So animal movie was that. So it's not really, it's a really a business, right? Your favorite, I would even like to talk about cricket on this one, but I'm going to have another podcast with Mr. Daksh on cricket influencers. So let's talk about movie influencers on this one. That they are not really adding any value to anyone's life by that one, right? Other than entertainment. So they should be uh, commanded for entertainment, not be worshipped like some god or not become an idol because they are just following a script, right? I don't understand the fanfare around SRK or any actor you can call. Like if you just go on YouTube, you can watch the crowd, and that person is honestly arrogant. He says that I would like to be this and I am not a common person and things like that. So what is the actual influence of those people? Why are these people just going like a the other way that I look at it is just a herd mentality. The other person does it, so I'm doing it. The other person finds BTS cool, even though he doesn't understand or she doesn't understand the meaning of those songs. I'm gonna follow the BTS too, right? There was this crazy story just 1 or 2 days ago of three teenage girls who went to Mumbai via train or something, just having 14,000, having dream to go to Korea to meet BTS, and then they had the shoes of the BTS people, and they were like just they just knew everything about BTS, and they thought that they could get away with it. So what is this influence? I mean, we are getting influenced by wrong people, right? Our influencers must be economists, must be scientists, must be teachers, must be books, must be lectures, must be the good side of the YouTube. But we don't want that. We are not even getting that. Would be an ideal society. Now, I'd like to talk about China on this one. Please go on. After we take this comment from you, let's talk about China on this one.
The only thing I would like to say about the influencers is the thing that even if they are the traders of fake dreams and everything, see people with weak minds see their luxurious life and everything, and the influencer take over their mind and they just start to eat them from inside by selling their courses and everything. This thing is gonna keep going, I think, for a long time, for like a span of decades. It's gonna keep going because we are in the times where there are people with very strong minds. Like you know how weak people are from their minds. Mentally, people are so weak that can't even talk about. A boy goes into depression because of a girl, suicides and everything. In older times, people were a bit mentally strong, even if things are not that way. But people used to be mentally strong than they are right now.
Let's go personal, right? We talked about compartmentalization of ideas. Let's talk about how we can have a good argument without having fight with each other, right? So, what do you think about this idea that whenever we argue, we just keep our two sides on different sides? Like our friendship is on other side and our disagreements are on other side, right? We can have as much disagreements as we want, we can have as much arguments as we want, but as soon as we are done with those arguments, and it's a great idea to foster a conversation because you're not going to be thinking about the effects of your actions on your friendship. So as soon as we are done with the arguments and all, we just put it aside. We are as good friends as before. I mean, it's a great idea to foster a conversation because most of the time what we continue doing is we just agree, we become a yes man to our friends without realizing, and then we don't talk about controversial topics which should be talked about to enhance one's mental capabilities.
I agree with Aman on the concept of compartmentalization of ideas and ideologies because we can keep pressure aside and fight like stray dogs on a certain topic we like to controverse about.
Absolutely. So that we can have a healthy conversation and foster good friendship.
While having a healthy conversation and fighting like stray dogs biting each other's tails.
And then just the next moment we are sending cat trees to each other.
Yeah, for sure.
Isn't that an idealistic friendship?
It's a totally an idealistic friendship and the best way you can have a friendship.
And we'd like to work towards it. So let's work toward it and talk about the China and how China compartmentalizes TikTok from the rest of United States. So you know that story about TikTok when if you switch on to the China version of TikTok, they show you the best of the educational content, the best motivational content, right? As in growing nationalism among their kids, growing thoughtful process over their kids. But in US, if you switch to the US algorithm or Indian algorithm for that matter, before they were banned, all they are doing is showing you vulgar dance, cringe things, and the shitty customizations, right? So it's like we are getting controlled by China, even if we like to realize it or not. And if we talk about Instagram, Instagram has no morals. At least China was trying to maintain TikTok's morality in its own country. Instagram is all handmade. So there was this research about Instagram. Uh, in which its executives agreed that they were actually showing sadistic content to the people who were already sad enough and who were on the verge of committing something, So let's talk about the morality of that because the real matrix is here that you are getting controlled by algorithm, you are getting controlled by influencers.
I would like to elaborate on a topic of China controlling the influence or the TikTok has on us, especially in America, because TikTok is banned in India, whereas Instagram is available in both countries. And as you can see, as Aman said, TikTok also had its fair share of vulgar content, but on the other hand, Instagram doesn't have any moderation of its vulgar content. That type of content can be seen in any underage child's phone, like a 12 or 13-year-old.
Yeah, and And that is basically the concept of the dark comedy. If you just switch on any kid content on Instagram and you open its comment, you just get what we are talking about.
बढ़िया, बहुत बढ़िया, बहुत अच्छी छुपी हुई कला है आपके अंदर, कृपया से छुपा के रखिए. As Aman said, even vulgar content can be seen in a child's phone, which is very concerning for the nation and everything. On the other hand, if we look into the TikTok of China, the content they provide is very educational as well as nationalist content. It motivates people to get into technology, get into the military for the nation. Whereas on the Instagram and TikTok of America and India, it's all about vulgar activities, as well as the sickening depression content, heartbreaking content, and
Yeah, the
everything.
sadistic content. Yep.
The sadistic content that's exploiting already heartbroken, so-called heartbroken, weak minds of people, especially boys, which are
Yeah,
making the
who have
generation.
not, yeah, like we talking about ourselves too, we have not seen a grain of suffering. We are privileged enough.
We are very privileged enough. We haven't seen wars and everything. We are living in such a peaceful time, but still there are these
We
weak
have
and
not, and talking about the short-sightedness, we have not slept hungry even one night, for even one night.
not gonna lie. We haven't studied under the lamps.
Yeah, we have not have to study under without having lights. Like we are just living a life of luxury, man.
We're living a life of luxury. On the other hand, these people act like they have the most severe depression of all times.
Yeah,
They're
and then
like
they
the
have to
weak.
act like they are just living on the hardest time of the earth. Like their ancestors would be quite proud of them, I'd say.
There's something I would like to address is that the youth is very weak right now. Anybody can become actually successful, not really fast, but he can become successful if he puts up enough work. So there was this quote which said, "Hard times create strong men,
Then those strong men create good times.
and those good times create weak men, and those weak men create hard times." And we are right now in hard times where there are weak men with weak minds. The youth is so weak that it can crumble any second.
The cycle continues.
Yup, you're right.
Let's wind this podcast down. Give your entire opinion on this one, 4 to 5 minutes, as long as you want to go yap about it. Then I'd give mine and then wind it up.
So I would like to say that influencers like Andrew Tate and everybody else like them, we can't say they should not exist because they're existing for a reason in the hierarchy. They're existing to exploit these weak minds, weak men, and the thing is, if they're exploiting them, there is one thing that happened to me that I got out of their trap. Everybody can get out of their trap and get on the good path of life. But if there's still people who just keep getting exploited by them, I can't do anything. So they're just meant to be failures in their life. They're not going to put any value in the society, even if they weren't exploited by entertained and others. So I would like to say that social media, the thing they're influencing through social media, YouTube, Instagram, mostly Instagram and TikTok. So as a man, as the youth, we should have control over what we are watching and what we're letting influence our minds. Because if we let somebody else accept our parents, our elder ones, and God influence our minds like a person we don't know, we just saw on the internet, and we are letting that person influence our mind, I don't think it's a good thing. We have to think about it. We should have critical thinking. We should be observant. We should think about things very critically before believing in them. We should think about a person critically before believing in them, and especially let them influence our minds with their own ideas, with their own point of view. So that's what I would like to talk about. We should have control over ourselves. That's the first thing. We should become mentally strong enough to have control on ourselves and don't get influenced by such people.
That's awesome. That's a great take, and that's a great way to summarize all of the talks that we have right here. Now, my opinion in this would be the similar to yours because we, frankly, at this point are thinking quite again. So, yeah, we should use our own mind and we should not be fixed into the illusion that we are taking our own decision. We should really be taking our own decision, and instead of being influenced by some influencer, by some cricket person, by some movie person. We should be influenced by the right people. We should be influenced by the people who have achieved anything, and that influence could honestly come from anywhere. And you cannot get respect and money and all of that, like such things in society, unless you provide value to it. Because as it was written in the first chapters of our textbooks that we used to study, that human is a social animal, and it prevails to this day. No matter how much someone tries to break that fabric of society, it's just not going to be broken. They are just running a business, and they are just running a business because they are just looking for a blue ocean. They are just looking to talk something unique through which they can get the attention, because at this time attention is the best currency. Everything that you do has an opportunity cost. If you are doing something, you are missing on something, and that is why they are just running this business. If you talk about Andrew Tate, no matter how much he did, he succeeded in his own. He is living the life he wanted, and we are the victims of Andrew Tate. He is not the victim of his mentality. He probably doesn't even think, and probably it's just a big ploy to get us to pay him, right? Because we talked about absurdities and contradictions in his ideas. So everything in today's day and age is just a business. We have to recognize what is just trying to grab our attention just by talking for us. This remains true not only for the people like Andrew Tate, but also for TV channels, but also for political parties and things like that, because we think that a political party is speaking of our benefit when they are just looking forward to themselves. Like, we have not gotten over the basic problems even. So it's just all a business, and I'm not saying that we should not trust people, but we should trust people on the level of ourselves. We should try to strive for creating good relationships with people and not fall in such sadistic traps. We are honestly living on the best times that humans have ever seen. And there might be some times where we feel bad, we feel sad by our losses. But honestly, what is life? Life is about small things. If you enjoy small things, you're gonna love life. There was this quote that if you enjoy the small little cat going around in your streets, if you enjoy that flower that grew on your that grew in your pot, you don't need these luxurious things, because these are just plots by capitalists to get you to buy more, and by so-called anti-capitalists to get you to spend more on their courses so that they can be the people who they wanted to destroy. So we'll wind our podcast down on there.
So I would like to thank everybody who was listening to us all this time. I don't think anybody would be, but
Yeah, I
if
mean,
you
it would be
were,
lovely. It would be lovely if that one great person, you know, that meme in which everyone goes, but that one goat remains near the person. So
yeah,
if that,
that's what I'm talking about.
yeah, if that one person is watching, so yeah.
Yeah, so if that person is watching, thanks for watching the podcast and good night.
And then, yeah, just we'd like to reiterate for both of us that we are just teens having casual conversations. Our thoughts and opinions are not firm, and they might change as we grow, as humans do. And please don't take anything personally. We are just having casual conversations.
So take care and good night. We'll see you in another podcast, which we will do in a couple of few weeks because the exams are coming overhead. So we'll see you in another one.
Have a great